Okay. Can everybody hear me? Testing, 1, 2. Pretty sure that's working. Boop, boop. Somebody in the chat, let me know if it's working. Oh, hey, how's it going? Woo. Doopy doop boop a doo. Okay. Um, Basically, we'll start off with the basic interface, just to give everybody a refresher course on how the whole interface thing goes. If you could just make sure that you guys can see my pointer. Yeah, it's all good. Okay. So for those of you who are just moving over from something like, say, Maya or Flash, like this window right here is basically the main display window for most people's purposes. I have it currently on the camera view. I don't know if you can read that. The Ustream feed is still a little bit low res, but basically the camera view is where you'll be doing most of your action. Right here in this display is the network view, which I'll be explaining in a little bit. And down here I have it currently on the library tab, but this is also the timeline here as well. In Harmony's interface, you can add tabs to each one of these windows to best suit your. Sorry, just going to turn my volume down a little bit. 1 second. Ba-doop, boop, 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 ba-doop. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so you can suit each one of these views to suit your needs for whatever you're working on. It's really easy to pull up and archive elements to your scenes using the library method. So I've got a bunch of things in here that I've stored from previous previous exercises. I built like a 3D model for that sort of thing. But so yeah, it's in this display that you can manipulate your objects and your character models, that sort of thing. Yeah, this a lot of people who are not familiar with Harmony or Maya, like if they're coming from a straight, say, Flash background or traditional background, this display is pretty intimidating. I lost my chat window. There we go. Hello, everybody. So this window here is pretty intimidating to a lot of people. But this is once you've learned how this all works together, you'll come to understand how powerful something like this is. Um, so if I can explain a few things, the way Harmony works is that it's a hierarchy-based system, much like Maya, and all compositing packages. So when you've got an object or a character or something like that, if I can pull up a character real quick. So we've got a character model here that I did earlier. You'll see that each one of these, even though this is seamlessly put together, each one of these is a controllable object, all linked together in a hierarchy. This is a bit of a spaghetti here, but each one of these objects is linked together via a group under the control of a main peg. So you'll see over here I have the entire head. So I'm just trying to, if everybody can keep up with me. I have things grouped in the network, and when I highlight them, you can see it selects the entire head sort of thing. So you can see the regions of influence in here. For example, the torso. Oh, we got a question. Oh, hello everybody. Yeah, I've got unique music tastes. Anyway, so yeah, we've got uh, basically how the head uh, is animated and things like that. Um, so just wondering if anybody's. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. There's yeah. Harmony has a lot of similarities to packages like 3D packages like Maya. Like for example, I, have a. This is a 2D object, um, but built to work in a 3D environment, and this is all 2D objects. Anybody familiar with 3D packages like Maya will immediately be familiar with something like this. And yeah, this is all. It shows how Harmony has a very robust, fully 3D engine. But I mean, it caters heavily to 2D and classical animation, and it's a perfect kind of environment for that sort of thing. Um, I can cover the basics. I'll just delete this for a moment and show how powerful the drawing tools are. Where's my? Oh, there it is. Okay, just took a moment to find my Wacom tablet or stylus. I mean, okay. So we've got right in this window. It's a quick introduction to how a very simple network would go about. So right here at the bottom, this is the network tab right here. So this is how everything is hooked together. So we have a color card that puts this basic color background behind everything. Otherwise, it just renders black. See, if I disconnect this and switch over to the render view, it should, yeah, it should render black. Hook that back in and enable it, and it renders the right color. So a drawing, this is what's called a read in the documentation, and I've got hooked in to the composite. In the composite, it goes from starting from where this black pip is. That is the bottom, and this would be on top of it on the timeline view. So in this timeline view, if I unhook this drawing, it will just completely take it out. Like you'll see it's on top of the color card, but if I rearrange it, it rearranges here in the timeline. So showing off some of the drawing tools, my preferred drawing tool for cleanup would definitely be the line tool. So if I go into the tool properties window, you can see this is how it manages the stroke style and the smoothing. So you can change how the stroke thickness and thin happens. Now, one of the nice things about the ink tool, or what am I talking about? One of the things that's nice about the pencil tool is that this is a purely vector line, meaning it has the Bezier is controlled by the center Bezier, and the line thickness is determined by the pen pressure of the Wacom stylus. So I can go in here and change the pencil editor. I can change. This is great for cleanup. You can close off tapered lines, that sort of thing. Gives you absolutely perfect line quality. So that's mainly for cleanup, something like that. And you see, of course, I can go in and change the Bezier now. That's the advantage of using something like an ink for cleanup over something like the brush tool, which is what a lot of Flash individuals are familiar with. Alternately, you can use the brush tool. Now, the brush tool in the newer versions of Harmony allow for uh, uh, more media types, things like textures and stuff like that. but it works very much the same way that lines work in Flash. Whereas once you lay a line down, editing it can be a bit of pain in the butt because you've got all these control points to manipulate. This is great for quick sketches or roughing something in, something like that. Because, you know, it's definitely not the final line work. It also has the same kind of smoothing controls that you'd be familiar with. Right? I can also make it really thick and fat, that sort of thing. I have examples of people or myself animating traditionally. Discard those. Just give me a second. It's in that folder. Okay, here we go. Doo-doo, boop, boop. So here we have a little example of me animating traditionally using the software. Now that this is just a lot of straight up rough animation sort of thing, where you'd quite literally be just taking individual layers and just roughing things in, just like classical animation. Oh, okay, we got a question here. Preference between brush and pencil tool. Colored lines. Yeah, Harmony has a lot of great features where you'll see here each one of these reads. See when I've selected something here, it highlights in the network what batch of drawings that is. So you'll notice on this side window here we have a bunch of layers. Each one of these reads has 4 individual layers that you can manipulate independently. So what I've done for this particular example is I've used a color layer underneath a line layer, but that wasn't entirely necessary, but I had other reasons for doing that, because what you can do in each one of these layers is that you can you have an overlay, line work, color layer, and underlay, which are all individual layers per each one of these reads. And what that allows you to do is have more full control over how each one of these is rendered within the network. As far as a preference, I much prefer for final work using the pencil tool, because it's just so clean. Plus, you can also have more since it is so clean. You have more control over how it's rendered in the final scene. See, since I drew this using the brush tool, that is, since it has a certain level of roughness to it, that's basically how rough it's going to render. I can't make it any cleaner than how it's rendered, because it is a brush tool. But if I drew this using the pencil tool, it has perfect cleanliness. Like when it renders, it is a absolutely perfect line. But I can add roughness to it later using certain modules. That's one of the reasons why for final line work I like to use the pencil tool. But as far as colored line work goes, if I wanted to change this line work, so if I go into this module here, I'm now looking at the line work, and what is, I believe I put it on the overlay layer. Oh, no, I didn't. I did do it on the line layer. Ah, interesting. So what I can do for colored line work is I can either color each one of these lines, or I can go into the color palette and I can change the palette pot. I can go ahead and pick a color that I want. Now, of course, you'll see, since each one of these drawings was using the same palette pot, it changes everything. That either gives you what you want, or it's not quite what you want. In this, it's rather interesting results, though, I have to admit. But as you see, that's one of the advantages of having a palette system. See, Flash doesn't have a palette system, so if I were to change the color of the line work, I'd have to go into every single drawing and if I wanted this effect, I'd have to repaint every cell or every drawing. Whereas this, you change one palette pot and it changes everything. But in case that's something that you don't want, oops, what did I do? Okay, let's set that back to black. Right. So say we just wanted to, we're going to go back in there. We're going to change, say, this batch. So we want to have a self-traced bit of line work right there. Let's just say that. So I'm going to create a new palette pot. And let's pick a color that it probably would be. Just give me a second. Let's say something darker, like a dark orange kind of thing. Something like that. Right. So see, since I've already selected it, it's already changed that set of colors. And if I wanted to change this bit, I can just switch over to, just select tool. And quite literally, I can select those and switch it over to that color. This batch of drawings, or this batch of lines, I should say. Switch over to that. And you'd have to do that for everything. If I wanted to switch this bit of lines, switch it over to that. And there you go. That's about as quickest way that you can do it. You'll notice that there's a certain level of alpha when I sketch things out. You'll notice that these are single strokes, but since I was using an alpha color, you get a little bit of that sketchiness that you would normally see in pencil lines and things like that. And since these were already alpha'd, I can go in here and change this. Oh, why did it change so drastically? Yowza. Anyway, it's probably because this broadcast software kind of messes with Harmony a little bit. So if anything weird kind of happens, that's mainly the issue. This desktop broadcast software can be a little bit weird with Harmony. It's like I triple click things, that sort of thing. But anyway, so yeah, if we wanted that alpha line work, there you go. It retains the alpha line work. And if you wanted to continue doing that with, say, drawings like this, you can select those lines, just those lines. So the way Harmony's loop select works is that you can start in a neutral area and just kind of drag it nice and carefully over the zone of influence that you want it to change. And you just quite simply select the color. And there you go. It's instantly recolored. We want to change these, just these. Right. Looks, oh, no, not quite. Hold on. Let's try that again. All right. So we just want these lines, and we'll switch it over to this nice darker orange, and there we go. So yeah, it takes a little bit longer, but it gives you the effect that you were looking for. That's the quick and dirty way of doing colored line work. Since this project doesn't exactly use that, I haven't taken the time to do a lot of that work. But yeah, if you did want to, like for this cool swipe drawing, yeah. Again, I'll show it one more time. So let's just select just those lines. Boop. And there we go. And we'll get those individual parts right there. Switch it to the brownish. There you go. Yeah, quick and easy. Yeah, that sort of thing. Was there, just out of curiosity, if anybody wants specific questions asked, go ahead and put it into the chat feed, and I'll try and answer it as quickly as I can. The chat feed's on a different monitor, so if I don't get to it right away, that's because I'm not looking at the other monitor right now. Okay, so let's go back into. Oh yeah, that's the other thing about Harmony. One of the really nice features about it is that when you are working with layered animation and you need to make a change to a certain layer, when you, in this camera view, any drawing that you go to manipulate, if you go to manipulate it, it ghosts everything in the background automatically so that your main focus is whatever you're currently selecting. Yeah, so all that line work was done on the line work layer. There you go. The nice thing about Harmony's copy and paste system is it automatically pastes in place. So between individual drawings, if you need something to be pasted in place, you don't have to paste special or any kind of particular paste other than the standard paste. It will automatically paste in place. So if I'm just roughing this out, say if I just want to reuse this bit of drawing for the head, I can hit copy, and in the next drawing, I hit paste, and that duplicate is in exactly the same place, and I can just shift and trace as one of the standard standard methods of classical animation. It's all right there. You can already see the changes. One of the other things that you should know between for Harmony is the difference between the camera view and basically the editor view and the render view. So the thing about the camera view is that this is basically meant as a quick play blast or quick preview of your animation so that you can see it in motion in full frame rate. It's pretty tiny here on the interface, but you won't be able to see it on the live feed. But there is actually a frame rate counter right here where I've got my pointer, and that will tell you exactly whether or not what you're seeing here is at full frame rate or not. So this is playing it back at a full 24 frames per second, so it's performing perfectly. So this is a full playback, but in a lot of cases when you have a really heavy character rig, your preview will not match your full frame rate. So you'll probably want to render at that point to see what your full which point it'll render more or less a quick time or render individual frames for you to see your animation. But if you I've currently got anti-aliasing turned off so that I can get full frame rate of what I'm animating. But if you want to see what a full rendered frame will look like, there's two buttons here at the lower part of the interface. One is preview, which is it's a grayed out flower looking icon. The other is a full color flower icon. If you switch over to that, this is the render view. Now currently I don't have, looks like I don't have a color card plugged in. Oh no, color card's disabled. Turn that back on. There we go. So this is what the full rendered view will look like. You'll notice it's a bit soft. That's because I've actually gone in there and softened it. Disable that too. Looks like I got a few extra blurs in here that I wasn't aware that I had, but that's not a big deal. But anyway, this is the full rasterized render view of what the final frame will look like. And it's a good idea to check this from time to time to make sure that whatever you're working on is exactly what your end result is going to be looking like. Okay, so that's drawings and animation. Yeah, you can see the recolored drawings mixed in there with everything else. Okay, I'll switch over to. So this is more of when you're working in Harmony, something like a rigged model is more like what you'll be presented with in a studio environment. So this is more of a final rigged model kind of example here. So, well, I love this track, by the way. So this is something that I've done on my own. It's not the most robust model that I've done, but as you can see, you can group things together in pegs and adjust depending on what you need, kind of environment. And this has examples of built-in deformers, so I can match parts of the drawing up if I need to. But individual parts are rigged to rotate on their own rotation points, and this is more of what you would find in like a Flash cartoon or something like that. But the thing is, since Harmony is a hierarchy-based environment, things will rotate based off of parent rotation points, and you don't have to micromanage all the individual parts like you would in a Flash type show. This functions far more like something in Maya or any other type of 3D package. You see that each one of these individual parts, they do indeed have their own rotation points, but it is based on a hierarchy. So this shoulder, if I go up through the hierarchy, will control the rest of the arm if I so wish. And that helps really maintain your arcs in the animation, that sort of thing. So that this hand does have its own rotation, but if I want that whole arm to adjust with it, I can. And you see that this arm will adjust the placement of the wrist, that sort of thing. So you can maintain your arcs in the animation. The other thing I wanted to touch on was library for each one of these drawings. So if I can archive eye blinks and things like that inside each one of these drawings. So much like a symbol in Flash, each one of these can contain a library of drawings that you can select at any point in the timeline. Now, the difference between a library archive and a read is the difference between that and, say, Flash is that in a Harmony read, the timeline is directly linked to, like each read doesn't have its own timeline. So these drawings are all, oops, I guess I manipulated a drawing I shouldn't have. Anyway, there we go. So in here you'll notice these eye blinks as I scrub through the timeline. They are all directly linked to where they need to be in the timeline. That's because each of these libraried reads do not have their own timelines individually. Now, Harmony does have the feature to use a Flash style symbol system where, for example, if you want to make eye blinks in a character automated, you could do something like that. It's not standard practice because for most animators they want to know when, or they want to be able to predict in the timeline or in the bit of their animation where that eye blink is going to be. That's just the preference of most animators, and I would personally have to agree with something like that. Um, but um, the feature is in there. I use Toon Boom Flash style symbols for other purposes, so they do get used by me, but not for the general purpose that you would normally use them in a Flash style situation. Oh, we got another. Oh, deformers. Yes. Yeah, deformers are pretty amazing. Um, a Toon Boom deformer is basically where you can take a drawing and more or less just bend it. So these ears, I believe I put them on deformers. It's been a while since I've worked with this rig. Oh no, I guess I didn't. Could have swore I put a deformer on that. Um, yeah, I guess I didn't. Did I put a deformer on that? No, I didn't. Huh. Well, I know there's a deformer on this. And the deformer basically is a spline that, in this case, I put it down the center of the drawing. There's other methods to that. You can put a deformer all the way around the perimeter of a drawing, and you can manipulate individual pieces of that drawing. I've done that in certain cases as well. But for this, this was just a quick avatar animation that I did for a very good friend of mine, who I believe is in the audience right now. But this is basically a dream come true for most Flash animators, where on a keyframe basis you can quite literally bend a drawing, and that's all using the spline controls that you can build into each one of these drawings. It's actually quite an amazing feature. Oh, I do remember. Yes, I did put. So that's basically a spline deformer on that one. But I believe, yes, I put a rigged joint deformer on this arm, and you can see it in action here. So this arm doesn't really feature too much in the actual bit of animation itself, but it was a quick one-stop method of getting an elbow joint, like a dedicated elbow joint in the animation without having to do any new redrawings. Um, it's a bit crude because it does kind of mess up the vectors here a little bit, but I mean, it's just more or less a throwaway bit of animation, so in normal circumstances, I'd probably go in there, or I wouldn't probably, I would most definitely go in there and tweak this bevel control to clean up a lot of the weird warpness here, but I mean, it's barely noticeable. Oh, you know what? I think I put a deformer in the torso here too. Yes, that's right, I did. So this torso control, you can see this torso is only one single drawing here. But to get subtle back animation, the back bends and things like that, I put the entire back on a Bezier deformer, and that allows me to have some really subtle and um, back animation without having to redraw anything. In a Flash environment, that would be a pain in the butt. I mean, a serious pain in the balls to get that to work the way you want it to. And a deformer makes that really easy. One of the other things that I've done in this particular rig, excuse me, in this particular rig is I've set up in Flash. Most people are uh, familiar with masks and cutters and things like that. That basically stop certain parts of drawings to be rendered outside of their desired areas. And Harmony takes that whole concept and takes it a million steps further. Say, for example, I've got this lower part of the character's beak here, but one of the neat things is that I wanted her to be able to show off some teeth I know. Yeah, I know. A bird with teeth. Oh, geez. You know, where, where is my anatomy knowledge? But as you can see, I've rigged this up so that when the character's lower jaw um, is extended for any part of the animation, it starts to display teeth. But they don't exist. You know, in normal circumstances, they would exist up here. But I've used uh, cutters in Harmony in a unique way that will allow it to be be displayed when it only goes down this way, but not up here. And there's different techniques to do that. I could quite honestly spend 2 hours describing or explaining that sort of thing, which I may, cover in a later broadcast. But yeah, the sort of thing is something that you can do in this quite easily. That would make it a bit difficult in other packages. Another question. Bitmap layers while sketching your animation. Um, in Harmony, bitmap layers, yes, you can. Yeah, I do a lot of my storyboarding in a bitmap layer. Um, Really, the thing about bitmaps in an environment like this is that they are rasterized, meaning they have a set resolution. So um, if you need to change the camera position or something like that. Um, oh, by the way, Harmony has a full camera, a full 3D camera that other packages simply don't have. But I'll explain that later. But the thing is, like, if I change the camera, it'll render pixely and things like that. Um, Also, bitmaps will also consume more RAM than a vector will. So yes, you can go in there and use bitmap layers for really nice sketchy lines and things with textures and stuff like that, and it'll look great. But the thing is, this is animation. So we'll have lots of drawings. If you're using exclusively bitmap, you'll have lots of drawings that all consume, like each one will consume the same amount of RAM as the previous one. So you'll exponentially be consuming more and more RAM as you basically you'll be making your scene file enormous if you're just exclusively using bitmap. Especially if it's just for rough animation that you'll be cleaning up later. That's just going to be bloating your scene file, especially when you can use uh, like a alpha'd vector, as in this case. This basically produces the same result as a bitmap would, essentially, and it consumes far less of your system's resources, and you get full frame rate and a non-bloated scene file. So, essentially, that's why I do it. Oh, did you guys get an ad? Oh my god. Jeez, got a lot of people watching. Holy smokes. That would probably be why there's an ad that you guys are getting. Sorry about that, but yeah, yeah, sorry about the ad, but anyhow, it should be brief. Wow, I actually had enough viewers to get an ad. That's amazing. That usually doesn't happen. um, oh, sorry, I didn't catch that one question. I'm not sure if oh, the tattoo. Right. Um, Hold on. Boop. Okay. So we'll go back over here. Um, oh, if you guys are wondering what my Twitter, it is, I'll just answer it in the chat. All right here. There you go. That's my in the chat. That's my Twitter. No problem. Okay. Do 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 boop. Okay. The tattoo. Yes. So yes. Essentially, since this is, again, a throwaway, more or less a throwaway bit of animation that I did for somebody, this, you'll see that this part of the arm is overlaying the other one, even though in the physical composite, this drawing is on top of the other one. Now, one of the really cool things about Harmony is that you can prioritize certain colors to overlay others. So this is a really cool bit, is that if I rotate this, you'll notice that the tattoo will exist over top. It'll cut right in. If I zoom right in, you'll see that this tattoo takes priority over the drawing that is physically on top of it. So if the character model was never designed to go beyond this point, so you can see it goes a bit weird there. But the thing is, I wanted this tattoo to cleanly cut into the arm, so that we didn't get this part of the arm overlaying a tattoo that I wanted to be seen at most angles. For example, that. So because this arm here, since it is physically on top of the other one, normally this part of the fill would be cutting into the thing, which is something I don't want. What I did was I told Harmony to take this particular color and have it a priority over top of everything else. So if I find it, so we see here in the network, I hope you guys can read this. I don't know how low resolution the stream is. Really hope you can see this. But we have something here called a color override. And a color override is where you can, window popped up in the other monitor. There we go. We have a color override here. That's what this little yellow pip means. And what that does is it will read the color palette of whatever you've currently got plugged into it. And you can tell it, render selected colors. So in most cases, I'll tell it to render certain colors from this module. And, oh, actually it's in this one. Sorry, I'll open up this one. Okay, so I told it the palette pot details, or details 2, which is this one right here. That is the color that we have selected. We're telling it to render that separately from the other drawing. And that is being used as a mask or a cutter that is into the arm above it. So that, I know that's pretty complicated, but I mean that's how I achieved that, because I wanted this to be able to happen. So I can put this arm in pretty much every direction I want it to be in and not have it affect the tattoo. So that's basically how you do it in 2 steps. Or only doing it with 2 different drawings. Okay. Geez, I didn't catch what time it is. Sorry, 1 second, guys. Okay. I can do this stream for about 10 more minutes for you guys. So put your questions into the chat, and I'll try and spend at least the last 10 minutes showing off animation and answering your questions. Yeah, so I'll just press play on that again. Yeah, let me switch over. I'll show off something else that I've been working on. Discard. Since Harmony is a full 3D environment, okay, since Harmony is a full 3D environment, as I can show you here, so we have an object that is basically a 3-dimensional head in a full 3-dimensional environment here. But if I grab hold of the handle, so we got a 3D head made out of 2D objects. This is just some of the experimental stuff that I've been working on. So this is a basic, um, a basic working prototype here, which I can add like ears to it if you want to make an anthro type character um, or something. So this is an example of how to use. Oh yeah, it glitches out every now and again, but it won't render like that. Um, yeah, so you can develop uh, a three-dimensional head that you won't require any extra drawings or redo of anything like that. You can add certain things to this basic model, and it'll work as a 3D rotation. Okay, here we go. Yes, this stream is being recorded, and it'll be up once I do a little bit editing to it. It'll be up on my Ustream videos window that you can watch at a later date if you want. So yeah, it'll be there. Uh, Physics, yes. Yes, Harmony does have a full inverse kinematics system, which you can rig up for um, more puppety type animation. Most studios don't use they don't use the IK system or inverse kinematics system simply because the animation tends to look pretty stiff. It depends on how you would implement something like that. Um, if a show had a certain look to it or something like that, if the character model is rigged up a very specific way, the inverse kinematics can really in some cases simplify things. The show would have to really have that look. I mean, like it really depends on what the show is supposed to look like. But yes, it does have a full physics system. It has a full particle system, which I have been messing with. It's got a particle system right here. I don't know if you can see it at all, but all of these icons are different types of particles. There's a fire system; it's all built in, or you can. Um, those are particle examples, but it has a particle system where you can. This takes a while to rig up, so I won't rig it up right now because it takes a lot of time. This icon right here is gravity. So if you've got if you've got an emitter, which is where is the emitter? Where the hell did the emitter go? Oh, sprite emitter. There we go, right here. So this, if you drag that into the network, you can tell it to emit basically sprites that you can attach a gravity module to, and the sprites, like normally the sprites would just kind of fling out in whatever direction they're going in because it's a simulation-based system. But if you attach a gravity module to that emitter, all of the sprites will fall based off of whatever gravity that you program into it. You can tell it zero gravity, for example, or reverse gravities, anything like that. It also has an image fracture system where it acts like glass shattering, or object could break up into a bunch of pieces and then fall to the floor. Um, you can bake simulations, so if something's working exactly the way you want it to, but you don't want it to be unpredictable, you can bake that so that it won't, render weird on someone else's machine, that sort of thing. Um, is there much need for an After Effects in animation industry? Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. After Effects kind of simulation based and post processing and stuff like that. By all means, those are necessary with the animation industry these days. TV animation has the standards have just gotten so high that all of those necessary complicated rigs and really cool three-dimensional things like this, they're all necessary because even Harmony Harmony 12.1. This current version that I'm running right here is Harmony 11 because that's the studio version that we've gotten into this production. Um, Harmony 12.1 has a full lighting engine, a volumetric lighting engine that will put real lights in the environment and render real accurate studio lights, and objects can be lights, and there's no more cheating. So no more cheating, rim lighting and stuff like that that we would normally do with uh, that we would normally do with a previous Harmony rig. We would, cheat rim lighting to make it look neat or look like real lighting. That's out the door now, so we can do something that set um, proper lights in a 3D set like this. If I zoom out, we could set lights in certain zones on the set and have the character or the actor lit from certain directions with for real lights, which is amazing. Of course, that adds incredible amount of render time to it, but I mean that's stuff that we have now, and yeah, it's by all means it is necessary because we have to compete with what all the other studios are doing. All right, guys. Yeah, it's right about the time that I should probably get back to doing my day job. But thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in, asking your questions. I'm going to definitely be doing this more often. Um, and yeah, I look forward to showing you guys more. Um, if you've got any specific questions beyond this broadcast, go ahead and get a hold of me through various avenues of social media, that sort of thing. Um, yeah, I'm pretty much all over the place on the internet, so get a hold of me through either Tumblr, uh, Twitter, DeviantArt, Flickr. I'm pretty much on all of them. The only one I don't have is Facebook, so don't go looking for me on Facebook because it doesn't exist. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys, and I hope to see you guys next time on the next feed. Thanks a lot. Bye.